being poor sucks. After being poor, I'm like, I'm not going to be poor again. I'm going to find a way to make it. So I never really had a choice. And I think it's the drive and the journey is the fun part. If you have all this money, no drive, I mean, it sounds great, but I think a lot of these guys end up miserable.
I agree. The people that I know that are the happiest, tend to figure things out for themselves. Good day. Ahoy. How are you? Excited. I heard Travis talking about risk profiles there, and you get a lot of rewards in life without taking any risk. Can you do normal people stuff and just have magical outcomes? Is that how it works?
Took lots of risks to become successful.
Oh shit! So it wasn't, but it was easy though, right?
Definitely was not easy. Lots of hard work too. I wish it was easy. I wish that part was true.
Jake is. He was at my event this weekend. We had a chat together for a couple hours with the audience, about 3 hours. We were there a long time. Mm-hmm. We had about 3 hours with the audience and did some Q&A, and many of you were there, so that was a fun adventure. Jake and some of my other speakers made comments that about people in the audience. So there's a lot of smart people and a lot of smart questions there, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think the audience was great. I mean, personally, I love live events. You can't match the energy. And it was, so what I really found interesting is everyone was, at one point they were saying things they'd learned. Mm-hmm. And it's a business thing, obviously, but everything could directly apply to my fighting career. And I was thinking, wow, the crossover is so amazing and unreal. Everything these guys are saying about business applies to my career as well.
Yeah, I try to share that, we've shared that back and forth together, that I've mentioned that, there's a lot of things that I learned in business that, you're teaching me things about jiu-jitsu or MMA. I'm like, oh yeah, that's just like this, or this fits like that. And it goes both ways. There's a lot of things that you learn in business, and from your perspective that you might think you're learning a whole new thing, but a lot of the philosophic principles are the same of, having patience, seeing opportunities, a lot of preparation in advance to capitalize on, you're when you walk in the octagon, that's probably not the great time to start training, huh?
No.
It wouldn't be the optimal time.
Yeah.
I should have trained a little bit before this moment.
It's good to be ready before, like in this case, probably, before there's a crisis, you want to know what to do, be prepared.
Yeah, after the market sells off 40%, hey, probably I should start learning something else. Right. Well, it's probably you're going to be too panicked to know what to do in that situation. And over time, I see you getting more comfortable with business ideas or thinking about investments, with a clarity like you have, in other contexts in fighting. Or you see me, we were talking about that a little bit today, when we're rolling pretty hard sometimes, and I don't get excited. My cardio is better. My moods are stable. And
exactly. There's a lot of crossovers, and just, being around you so much, pick your brain, getting more confident with business decisions I make, stocks I buy, business moves I make, because, trying to make a transfer. A lot of, it's really tough for professional athletes to make the transfer to your sport, to, business and career, because you get so caught up in your whole personality, as being a fighter is how you make all your money, and then boom, you're not doing that to find something new. And you see a ton of these guys going to depression, drug addiction. That's why it's so important. The ones that do make it, though, are usually extremely successful because they already know how to work hard and they put it somewhere else. And the other ones are usually the ones that feel sorry for themselves, do nothing, stay home, and take the exact opposite approach.
What do you say to somebody here that we're about halfway through this course? What are we on, week 5 or something like that? Week 4? Seems like week 5 already. But that's good. We're only a third of the way through then. But for somebody that still has that, that lingering something in their head, they're like, it's I know, hard work, discipline, all those keywords. But Derek, what's the shortcut? Jake, what's the shortcut? How do I just get free shit that I don't deserve?
So shortcuts, you either work really, really hard or you're broke. Unless you got rich parents, then maybe you're okay. But you ain't getting any shortcuts. I mean, every now and again you might get someone lucky buys Bitcoin at the rate, but that's just a random chance of luck. For the most part, anyone successful I know has worked extremely hard, and a lot of the I know kids with rich parents, they're not successful though, they just live off a trust fund. I also know kids with rich parents, they learned how to run the business, extremely successful, and they took their business to another level. But they have the same dedication and work they took what their parents have done and taken it to another level.
I think that's really interesting. I've seen both of those scenarios, and I'm sure you've seen plenty of both as well. That there's some people that are born with great circumstances, or circumstances that I think I would have liked to have as a kid. In reality, I don't know if it would have been good for me or not.
Yeah, because it goes either ways with those people.
Yeah. And you'd like to think that you'd be the noble one that, like, oh, if I worked as hard as I did, but I had wealthy family, then I could have been even farther in life. But if you had a wealthy family, maybe you wouldn't work as hard.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have worked as hard as I did if I had, if that shit was easier.
Yeah, I honestly can't say. It's not a situation. But I've seen a lot of people that are really wealthy and they're depressed, addicted to drugs, not happy. And then I've also seen the opposite, where guys work really hard, they take their parents' business and they make it 10 times better. So it swings both ways.
I've seen more of them mess it up than make it better, but I know there's both. And for the ones that make it better, that's they are to be commended or respected. That a lot of people in their circumstances wouldn't have done that. A lot of them wouldn't have the the vision or discipline that they just lacked off and rode on their family's coattails. So respect to them. But I knew a kid that this is 15 years ago. And his father owned a chain of businesses, and really in two areas. One, he owned a bunch of gas stations and also owned a bunch of medical clinics. And I mean, the kid was so spoiled. His kid's in his early 20s, and he ships the kid off to Manhattan. He's got the kid flying around the world, first class and business class, and he's lived in Manhattan in a very luxurious apartment. And rent at that time I think was $15,000 a month that Dad's paying for, and now it'd be even more expensive.
Yeah, it's like 25 or
probably be 25, 30 today. Is probably exactly with the right numbers. So he's living very luxuriously and hasn't done shit. And you think the kid maybe would be happy about this, but it's exactly what you said. He started using drugs and had every excuse and literally coming up with like psychosomatic disorders of like oh, my arm hurts, my this hurts.
My depression, my anxiety. So what the hell are you depressed about? You're rich. But I think it's the journey's part of it. For me, I had no choice. You too. We had to make it or go back to living in a small house or a trailer. And to me, that was being poor sucks. After being poor, I'm like, I'm not going to be poor again. I'm going to find a way to make it. And so I never really had a choice. I think it's the drive and the journey is the fun part. If you have all this money, no drive, sounds great, but I think a lot of these guys end up miserable.
I agree. The people that I know that are the happiest, tend to figure things out for themselves. Or as for the rare few that came from great circumstances and made them even better. That's ideal. But wherever the you're at, take an inventory of what are the assets, what are the liabilities, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and how do we leverage that for the best effect over time. And wherever you're at, you can do better.
Yeah.
Wherever you're at, you can do better.
Yeah, and the people that are born in fortunate situations, they're only happy when they take what they have and make. I think humans are meant to progress. Mm-hmm. The guys that are happy are the ones that take it and make more money. So it's nothing wrong with being born that way, especially if you're able to take it and make it better. Just there's a large percentage of them that don't.
We were laughing at a subset of guys earlier today that you're born rich and have a lot of advantages, and still find yourself in a circumstance where you're depressed and girls don't like you.
Yeah, right. They think the money's going to solve it, and it doesn't. You still have to learn to develop, some kind of character. And I think a lot of times the journey to get the money is what gives you that.
There's something you mentioned a moment ago, clicked in my head, that marble statue over there, the second one, that's Hannibal. Mm-hmm. Hannibal from Carthage, and Hannibal Barca was their family's last name. And Hannibal had a rough life, but Hannibal's father died, I believe, when he was 8, trying to save his brothers Hannibal's father was the general of the Carthaginian army, and he'd bring the kids to the battlefield and, have them sit in on the violence and understand what was going on. And Hannibal's father died in trying to save his younger brothers when some Romans were about to kill his kids, and so maybe you shouldn't have brought him to the battlefield, but Hannibal kind of, the things that he had burned in his head as a kid, that a Roman is your enemy and it's your life's goal to kill the Roman. That was that was in his head before they killed his father, and that probably cemented that in there further, I would think. So Hannibal kind of devoted his life to that, and he tormented the Romans for a number of decades and occupied Rome for about 13 years, made a mess of things. And he was the guy that famously brought 100,000 soldiers and a herd of elephants and all sort of oxen, etc., through the Alps, over the Alps and into Rome, and it was thought of, or into Italy.
Right?
It was thought to be impossible, that only like a god or a titan could, move an army like that, through the Alps, and he did it as a human. A lot of them died along the way, but he did it as a human. So, but there's a quote from him. Hannibal said, I shall find a way or make one. And I've thought about a lot of things in business that way, that, and you think of the boldness of that statement of, I shall find a way or make one. So meaning you'll find a path that's already existing. Either somebody did it before you and you'll learn how they did it so you can replicate that. Where it's really quite a bold statement to say that, if nobody else ever did it before me, I'll fucking do it myself anyway. I'll figure out how to do it. And I always
he did it, sounds like, too.
It was a multi-decade battle, and, everybody he knows and loves died in the process, but, we're still talking about him a couple thousand years later. And I don't think that'll be the case for the majority of people. So I thought that was a very inspirational quote. Hannibal had a rough life. He didn't have a clear victory. He had a long war of attrition, and Carthage doesn't exist today. So Carthage was in what today is modern day Tunisia in northern Africa, and Hannibal pissed off the Romans so much, and with his tormenting of them, that they later came to Tunisia, or to Carthage, and with orders to leave no brick on top of another, that to level everything, that no stone left on top of another stone, no brick left on top of another brick. And Carthage doesn't exist today because they destroyed it entirely. I don't know that they did this, but there's also that they said they wanted to salt the earth, meaning to literally put enough salt on the earth that crops would not grow there. That so they wanted no buildings and no farmland available to grow food. So
they really wanted to tear the place up.
Yeah, they weren't happy with Hannibal, but I always thought that was inspirational. That once in a while when I have a frustrated moment, I think about that with a similar boldness or seriousness of like, well, I will find a way or make one. And oftentimes I have, actually, and you might not have thought of those words, but you have as well. And you've engaged in the behavior maybe with different words in your head. And I feel really good about that. I think this is something we discussed at the conference this week, and I think you might have been part of the conversation or tidbits of it. But I think some of the things that a person feels most proud of later is when a lot of things are going against you and you find a way to win anyway. Or when a lot of people doubt you and you continue on your path and doing those little boring things day after day, and building your foundations and building your infrastructure. And when you watch a skyscraper go up, about a third of the work is underground. About a third of the work is digging down to the earth, putting the pilings down to the bedrock, putting the reinforcement bars down there and all the structural steel for that foundation, pouring the concrete in there. About a third of the work is underground, and then you see 3-4 months of work happen, and then over the next 6, 7, 8 months you see a skyscraper happen. And I've felt proud of myself at different times, and I'm curious if you have a story or a perspective of that you've had those moments in your life where people around you maybe doubted you, or you didn't have a lot of external support, but you believed in yourself, that you had a vision to do something, to be world champion or something else perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, early on, no one really believed with me. They thought I was crazy, don't do the sport. There really wasn't much money on it, so I can't really blame the people. But even my own family at first spent a year trying to talk me out of doing it. My girlfriend at the time, ex, because I broke up with her because she didn't believe in me. But it was something I knew I could do and knew I had to do. So I cut those people out, broke out with my ex. After about a year or so, my parents started supporting me. And then, most of my friends thought I was crazy. I started making I'm like, okay, I'll make new friends. They're trying to fight too. And then I built the life I wanted. Didn't have people that believed me. I found people that did. When I found a new girlfriend, I made sure she believed in me, and that she realized that my career was always first. Something for my career, I was to do that before I go to her birthday party or her friends' parties, before my own birthday party. That my priorities were my career and be successful, And there was fights when everyone's like, "Oh, there's no way he's going to beat guys like Dan Henderson or Tyron Woodley, these ex-champs." And I love going out there and proving people wrong.
Yeah, so you had so Tyron Woodley is what I think a 5-time champion at UFC, I believe. So
yeah.
you won a fight against Tyron Woodley. Dan Henderson is a guy that I think you and I both like and respect.
Yeah,
but
the sport.
Was a super tough man. So you got victory over Dan Henderson. Is there another champion as well?
A few more. Carlos Condon I beat. Dave Monet, he was a champ a long time ago. A lot of people don't remember him anymore, but he was still one of the early champs. I think there's one or two more. Isn't it funny? I can't even remember the champs. I know there's. See, who else did I beat? Maybe to beat the who's who of the game, but I know at least one more UFC champ. Robbie Lawler I beat, who was a fearsome champ. So.
You told me a story. You had to go to Japan, and they tried to hook you up with a fight that you were expected to lose, and you were victorious there as well.
Yeah, they wanted someone tough, but not tough enough. So what they do, there was this guy Hayato Sakurai, who at the time number 2 in the world. He was Japan. He never became a huge star in the U.S. A lot of people probably don't know him, but at the time he was a big star, huge, massive star in Japan. So they gave me 2 weeks notice, figured I wouldn't be in shape. But luckily I was already training. I was keeping myself in shape. So they were bringing me out there as the opponent, they call him, the guy to go out there and lose. They give you a good payday. Not great payday, but for the time it was a good payday. But in my mind, I wasn't going out there to beat the opponent. I was going out there to shock him. I went out there and completely dominated him right in Japan. Obviously to get the decision in Japan, it has to be massive. They weren't too happy, but I went out there and dominated the number 2 guy in the world when I was completely unranked, just known as some pretty tough American that we're going to go out and beat up on.
Yeah. What has that done in other areas of your life, even outside of fighting? You seem like quite a confident guy in a lot of areas, and I say that again, confident, not arrogant. Not like, I could do anything and it's going to be easy. But you seem to have very great foundations from your fight career and the things that you went through there, the life lessons you learned. That seem very confident in a lot of contexts.
Yeah, it just teaches you a lot. I know obviously I'm not going to have anywhere near the business skills of you, but I know I can become good at business. Obviously, the amount of years you put in, I'm not going to be, in 2 years, I'm not going to be competing with you.
It only took me 36 years. It's only 36 years.
But I do know I can be good at business without, because I'm willing to work hard. I'm willing to put in the same kind of work. So I know pretty much the majority of things, almost everything I put energy, or pretty much everything I do put energy into become successul. There's been things I put like a tiny bit of energy to that hasn't, but that's been more on my end from neglecting them than from a, if I put a ton of energy in something, it's always been at least somewhat successful.
You and I have funny hobbies, so
yeah.
It's not sitting on the beach. I guess the last tidbit I'd share is, Jake and I are kind of laughing today that we're training earlier and going to go back to training again after the call and after a little team meeting. And then we'll go back to training, and after training, I'm going to order some food and hit some weights while I'm waiting for the food. Either one of us are doing well enough in life. We could sit on the beach.
We could retire in Hawaii and not really work again, but that just sounds absolutely miserable to me, and I'm guessing the same to you. I get to the beach about 20, 30 minutes, then I'm like, okay, I need to do something.
I'd even like to sit there. I like to walk on the beach.
I do like to walk on
half
the beach.
An hour.
Yeah.
I'm good. Not even in the full sun. When the sun's going down, I could walk on the beach for half an hour and I'm good again. So, think about even how you spend your time in your hobbies. Where currently I got a little mark on my eye over here from rolling around yesterday. My sinuses are a little fucked up from his shoulder smashed on my face here. My lips a little swollen from today, and nobody thinks anything of it. It's good to even have tough hobbies. That we were laughing. I think it was with you. It might have been with Gilbert. But I bet maybe it was Gilbert. But there was a big laugh in the room where I think you were there the night before, and you said, when we at the conference this week, you said, "Oh yeah, sometimes I train with Derek. We'll work on one thing for 6 hours in a day."
I think people were shocked to hear that. Yeah.
Well, Gilbert said the same thing. He said then the next day he came. He said, "We'll work on something 3-4 hours, and we'll take a break, and we'll go back for another 2 or 3 hours, and put in 6 hours in a day."
Yeah. And there's times where it's not fun. Sometimes you think Derek wants to do the same damn move for 5 hours, but you know what? He wants to be able to do the move good. So we do it one day, and now all of a sudden I try to catch him in that move, and I can't do it anymore because we drilled it for 5 hours. So sometimes it's a blast training, but there are days where it's not fun. You're just drilling something over and over and over, but it transfers to fun down the road. Same thing with making money, And I would like to add, whatever your hobbies are, try to get hobbies that are going to somehow add to your life, not things that are just going to suck your time and not add anything. Something that'll get you in shape, teach you to fight like him, add some kind of intelligence, some kind of work skills. If possible, I think it's always smarter to have a hobby that adds something, not just playing video games for 4 hours.
Yeah, if you're doing useless things with your time, you're making yourself more useless. If you're learning how to do things that require thought and discipline and action, and but Derek, it's my leisure time. Derek, it's time to relax. And all right, man, you be more relaxed later when you have when you can do whatever you want. When you could protect yourself. You're just confident in every way. You got everything. You got everything a guy could have in life. If you got some money, you got some great friends, you got anything a guy would want in life, and you're gonna go play video games with that. That's the end game. Just gonna play some video games.
Imagine meeting a girl and like, what's your hobbies? Oh, I play video games. they're like, okay.
I guess guys say that to girls, and there's some subset of loser girls that hang out with them because there's dumb people everywhere. There's a couple dumb men made poor judgment and produce some dumb kids, I guess. And here some of those people are out in the world there. But the point that Gilbert and I got to laughing about is. He was saying like, man, Derek works hard, and you just got done saying the night before, 5-6 hours a day. Gilbert said the same thing, and I made the point to the group like that's my hobby. That's not a job.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's not like a job or a profession. Like I don't get paid for that. Like that's what I do for fun. It's a hobby.
Yeah, even your hobbies you take serious. It is a pretty addicting hobby though, because I know I fell for the same one. If you were younger, you'd probably end up being a fighter.
Yeah, that might be true, and I'm happy I'm older, so
so you got to do business instead and make more money.
Well, that would be a distraction from business, It'd be a distraction, but it probably would cost me a lot of money if I started early and went into pro fighting. There's maybe some people are going to make money in the future, but there wasn't a ton of money in the past. You've turned that into a lot of money, but you're a 5-time world champion.
It's also through a lot of other ways of networking, sponsorship. Unfortunately, the crazy money. I mean, there's decent money in fighting. I think there is more money than a lot of people think because some people think there's like no pay in MMA. The top guys are making pretty good money, but it's still not what the top boxers are making. Yeah. But the mid-level MMA guys are making a lot more than mid-level boxers.
Interesting.
It's only the very few boxers that make all the money.
Yeah, I was making the point that for the top guys, and you were one of the top guys, through a lot of your career, that you get a good payday and you're well respected, and there's other endorsements and opportunities that come from that. That there's more and more money, but for a guy that's starting off and might be really good compared to somebody at a home gym or something to small town gym, but. Unless you're at the top of that food chain, there's a lot of those guys are making their medical bills might be more than their purse.
At the small level of fighting, honestly, the medical bills can be more than the purse, or even just like the medical checkup. It's really like nothing.
Yeah. So hey, think of hobbies that are going to fulfill you. Live event. I had a great time. Thank you for being part of the live event.
Yeah, no, it was. I love live events. I always think it's a lot more energy. People can network, and we're talking about networking. That's one of the biggest things that fighting gave me. And I think, look at all these people that are surrounded. It's everyone in your call want to be successful together. So they should be networking with each other. That's one of the biggest keys to success, I imagine. Wouldn't you agree?
I didn't go to an online university. I went to University of Chicago because I wanted to be there, with the top academic people, with the top business leaders, in that space. I could go to BJJ Fanatics. I know there's some great videos on there, some great training videos. I learned a lot better when we're here together.
Oh, for 100%. I mean, not that you can't learn the other way, but it's always better in person.
You can learn that way. You can learn here. But countless people told me, and about you specifically because you've been on many of these calls because we're here to we're trained together and spend a lot of time together. But countless people told me that. Wow, it's so much more impactful hearing Jake speak in person or being in the room together than the calls. The calls are great. These are fun. This is great, but it's different in person. They feel very connected and understand the nuance or the details or humanity of another person much better when you see them and you feel how they are. I don't like to talk about any kind of esoteric woo-woo type shit, but that too. Meeting somebody in person, even if you don't have a lot of words, you see the essence of that person or who they are or how they are very differently.
I 100% agree. Some people are good with all the video calls and all that. I'm not against them, but in person to me is always way better.
Yeah, agree. Hey, thank you very much for making some time.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys.
I was living on my coach's living room on a mattress. You know, I ended up like just bouncing at a bar. I'd been a cop, I quit my job. And
Derek Moneyberg presents 10 Commandments of Wealth.
Took the gamble on myself to become a successful professional fighter and make it to the UFC or Pride, and at the time. And
am I making a sacrifice right now, or am I just investing in a better future? So it's easier for me to make those decisions when I think about it as like, oh.
Yeah, absolutely. And now that you mention it, having to actually really process and think about it, I think that word sacrifice is kind of like, I believe it's the word that the ones at the top kind of use to make everyone else feel better about it. Because when you're at the top, now you realize that was an investment.
Was everything just golden and easy and handed to you, or do you have a little struggle yourself along the way?
No. Yeah, in 2013 and 2015, I was living out of my car, full time, and I was too proud to ask for help. Like, how ridiculous is that? You're living out of your car and you think you know it all. And 2015, that's when I kind of I knew that I didn't know it all. So why not find experts in that and really shortcut that? I thought I was going to just chip away. I thought I was just going to read books till I was an expert. I never really talked to anyone that actually did it.
It's been about a week since I've joined the 10 Commandments of Wealth program, and there's so many interviews that are offered in this program.
I'm inside the Derek Moneyberg 10 Commandments of Wealth program. This is an awesome program that you're gonna love. I'm gonna use the principles and the knowledge from this program to help me boost my leads in my marketing firm. Buy this program, it's a wonderful investment for your future. You won't regret it and you'll absolutely love it.